Men of Reddit, when was the last time you've cried and why? I had some dream in which I don't really remember what happened, but when I woke up I was sobbing like a child. I stopped almost immediately once I was awake. Very strange. I was tucking in my 7-year-old daughter a couple of months ago, and she told me that she was worried about me dying before her. I'm only 42 and healthy. So I had a conversation about how old I am likely to live and that she will be an adult when I die. Then she said, but when you do die, will you help me? Because I need you so much. And I lost it. Months ago, when my best friend was found dead in his car after a week-long search for him, turned out he killed himself. When my girlfriend broke up with me through a phone call after 6 years, just couldn't hold it together. It was over the weekend. I was reaching out to a few different friends to see what they're up to, but everyone else had pre-existing plans. It hit me hard when I realized that I'm always making an effort to reach out, but I don't get the same in return. I do a lot of the work, and when I try to make plans, there's always something that comes up or they're too busy. This last weekend, after a night of drinks, a very good friend of mine and I were ending the night at her apartment. We had been chatting for a bit when at one point, she redirected the conversation and began to beam about how she's proud of the man I've become. She talked about my character, how I treat people, and my habits. She told me there are things I do that she admires, things that I've been doing for years, and that I thought no one noticed. It was a very tender moment and I couldn't help tearing up. I've never had a friend or loved one, other than a relative, say such beautiful things about me. Bless her soul. I don't know what I would do without her. To say that she's an amazing person wouldn't be enough. Last time I got teary-eyed, cats in the cradle. Last time I cried, wow, years ago. Must have been when I lost my job, got dumped and my grandfather died. All within 6 hours. That was enough to set me over the edge. Took a small getaway trip. About 8-hour drive few weeks back due to stress. I played all of the songs I shouldn't play on the drive up and let myself unwind in the car and get all of that stuff out. Job stress. Feelings toward my ex. The whole gamut. Did me well. Sunday. Wife has sudden onset of insomnia and anxiety since Christmas, which has started to trigger panic attacks. She had one while I was at work and called me. When I was free to call back, my son answered the phone. I was sobbing listening to my 6-year-old talk her through the breathing exercises we had practiced. That kid gets ice cream for life. No questions asked. And I might go cry again. Wife had been taking prescription sleep aids on our doctor's recommendation, which knocked her out for an hour or two at most. This was pre-panic attacks, so they changed to anti-anxiety, anti-depression meds for 5 days. She had another 2 panic attacks early in the week, but I had arranged some emergency leave and was there for the worst bits. On day 4 and 5 she managed to relax enough to sleep for a good 5 to 6 hours each time. Followed up with the doctor for blood samples and medical reviews, and she's dropped down to half the dosage for another week. Has slept fairly well since, and her job have been very understanding, so all being well she's back to work for a half day tomorrow. Our son is back at school no worse for wear and has been spoiled rotten by all concerned. Fingers crossed it's just a flash in the pan of stress and all health. But we have a few numbers for counseling and further tests should they be needed down the line. I've teared up a few times, but last time I legitimately cried was in 2010 when we put my childhood dog down. I was a senior in high school. We had him since I was in first grade 1998. He was my first and only childhood dog. A Siberian Husky, and I feel like we grew up in that house together. He had some cancerous tumor in his stomach that was spreading rather quick, and the attempt at removing didn't go so well as they couldn't get it all. We decided as a family to let him go peacefully so he didn't have to suffer, as they promised us it would continue to grow and possibly cause him severe pain in the near future. I'll never forget holding him in my arms in that room as the vet asked me if I was ready for the moment. When she injected him, I felt his entire body sink into my arms. He was lifeless in an instant. I was so happy he went peacefully without pain. My best friend growing up. I've never expressed my emotions from that moment to anyone besides my parents and my current girlfriend. Whenever I think back to that moment I get teary-eyed, but I'm happy I was there for him in his final moments. I wouldn't change a thing if I could go back in time. Please try and be there for your pet if you ever have to make such a decision. I'm more emotional than your standard guy. I'll tear up fairly frequently. Even at movies and the like. Usually with things involving loss of parents. Last time I would say I actually cried was when I decided it was time to go to a therapist, and in the initial meeting was just offloading all the reasons I decided to come and why I thought I might have a touch of depression. I'm doing much better now. Last time I straight out ugly sobbed was when they put my mother's casket into the vault at the mausoleum. Almost 5 years ago now. While hugging the hell out of my brother. I had to put my cat down yesterday. That sucked. While I held my 4-year-old daughter in my arms and realized there was nothing that I could do to save her from dying from mitochondrial disease. I don't think I had ever cried so hard before or since. 7 years later it still haunts me, but time does make it less painful. Month ago. Was yelling at my kids because they were misbehaving and I put them to bed early. Broke down afterwards and cried on the stairs. Knew I didn't have to yell as much and said some unnecessary things. Wife talked with me on the stairs and it turned into a turning point in my life, and I'm doing much better with the discipline. It's never too late to apologize and explain to your children why you were yelling. I had to put down my house cattle dog. It was just me and her for 12 years, and then I got married and she got sick shortly after. Worst day of my life since my grandfather passed. Woke up at 4 a.m. after dreaming my dad told me he has days to live, then realized he is actually dead. My marriage was on the verge of collapse when my ex-wife got a job offer in another state. She had been unemployed for some time, so she had to take the job. We decided I should stay behind since I had a steady job and divorce was inevitable. My wife moved out and the kids stayed with me until she got a home in her new city. Taking my kids to the airport and putting them on a plane to move away from me was soul-crushing. I held it together until they boarded. Once they got on the plane I lost my shit. My kids only lasted a few months with mom before packing up and moving back to live with me. About 5 minutes ago. One of my nephews is currently in surgery for something his doctors have never seen in a kid his age before. I just got news from my sister that best case scenario has happened, and they were able to take care of things. He should be out of the OR in half the time as was expected. So, yeah. Crying in relief at my desk at work. Going up to see him in a couple days. It's hard to explain what it means to have kids like him in your life. Last week at our first ultrasound, wife and I have had 2 miscarriages and we had an appointment and saw the heartbeat. This little peanut has stuck around the longest so far. Fingers crossed. My daughter was born the start of last year. Think I must have cried for a solid hour. Get ready. Man, I teared up last year when my son was born. Not a full-on cry, but unexpected emotions. Last night I was feeding my now 10-month-old, and he was in turn feeding my old Doberman. And it just hit me like a wave. Everything was perfect in that moment. My wife started crying because she had never seen me cry. Then my kids started laughing hysterically and my dog barked so loud that he forced a fart out. A perfect moment. A few weeks ago, when one of my best friends told me he's going to be a dad, I can go for months and months without shedding a single tear. But these news got me really emotional. In the best sense of the word. This has been an eye-opening experience for me, as I had no idea I was capable of feeling such things. July 2019. I surprised my long-distance girlfriend for her birthday after not seeing her for 3 months. Her reaction was bland, which shook me a bit, but I was like, maybe she's tired from college and work. I've gotten us a nice Airbnb for 2 nights so we can have some privacy, but nothing felt right. Last night we were just listening to some music. She was sitting on the bed pressed against the wall, eyes closed. I was laying on my stomach and then Georgia by Vance Joy started playing. I teared up and covered my face with my arm. That moment I realized our relationship peaked sometime before. It was only downhill ahead. I cried without any sound and she felt the bed shaking from me sobbing. Asked me what's wrong, and then I opened up about how I feel that I'm 100% into this relationship but not getting the same back. She started crying as well. Confirmed everything I said and promised she'll try to improve and bring back the spark we once had. We broke up 3 months later. Oh man, do I miss that girl. My ex-fiancé left me after I spent 9 days in the hospital battling dual pneumonia and almost dying.